Chairman Bates is traveling to get here, so he's not here just yet. Let's go ahead and have the welcome, and then we'll have a roll call here with Ms. Parker.
Here.
Ms. Kinzer.
Here.
Ms. Martin. Mr. Pennings.
Here.
Mr. Moore is present. Mr. Atkinson.
Here.
Mr. Bates. Mr. Beaver.
Here.
Ms. Morency.
Here.
Ms. Powers.
Here.
Mr. Dudley.
Here.
Looks like we do have non-members present. Okay. We will have the Pledge of Allegiance, and after that we'll have a moment of silence.
This is the FBLA officers from Santa Fe Unit School. There's the flag over there, guys. This is Christian Cervantes. He's president. Emily Wilkinson is secretary. Lakeland Prentice is the reporter. And Sydney Church is the vice president. So, guys, if you'll lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And thank you, Santa Fe, for leading that. We can go ahead and move down here next to adopt the agenda. Does anyone have anything they want to add to the agenda? If not, we can have a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt the agenda by Mr. Pennings. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second from Mr. Dudley. What? Mr. Dudley seconded that.
Please vote now.
Oh, sorry, adopt agenda.
Go ahead and close it. It'll vote yes.
All right. And that did pass unanimously there. Next section, Section 3, we do have recognitions and announcements. I think we're going to start off here with Santa Fe Unit School girls and boys basketball teams. Did anyone have any information on that? Or oh, Mr. Brown.
Yeah. Just a little slow getting here. We have the Santa Fe Middle School boys and girls basketball teams here tonight to be recognized. Both groups had outstanding years, and it's always just an absolute great thing if one of your teams is talented enough to win a county championship. But this year, Santa Fe Unit School had two talented teams, and both their boys and girls teams won county championships, which is very rare that you have one school that claims both championships. So we want to recognize them tonight. Coach Slaughter with the girls team and Coach Green with the boys team. If they want to come forward and bring their students with them, and I'll just turn the floor over to them for a second, let them tell you about their season.
Talk about both.
Thank you for having us tonight and recognizing our team. There's lots of people from our community, as you can see. Santa Fe really supports their teams and especially basketball. We had this great group of kids. We were here last month. My girls were with the cross country, and I told you the plan was that we were coming back for the basketball. But like I said, we had a great season. Our girls were 16-2 this year, and we were undefeated in the county and won the championship. It was at tournament was at Columbia Academy this year. Our boys had a great season too. I'll let Brad talk a little bit about that. And I guess let me read off the names of our girls' teams. We got these shirts with everybody's names on it. So our girls' team was Avery Slaughter, Tara Lynn Pemberton, Gracie Mills, Elise Atkinson, Emmy Bates, Alyssa Atkinson, Lacey Wharf, Hallie McLean, Emily Hopkins, Trinity Kelly, Brianna Bryant, Josie Parks, Riley Long, Hattie Hedrick, Carly Rowland. Our managers were Katie Armstrong and Aniston Slaughter, and I'm Jonathan Slaughter, and my assistant is Haley Hallmark.
Just wanted to say congratulations and thank you to this group of guys, just a very special group of guys to work with, the parents, Santa Fe School. It's been a really fun year, one I'll never forget, and good job, guys. Hey, y'all turn around. So on the team was Weston McClanahan, Landon Evans, Destin McCord, Ryan Wakefield, Lucas Potts, Will Monholland, Andy Tomlin, Blair Mabry, Colton Stewart, Jeremy Dotson, Sammy Joe Cottle, Logan Wilkins, Ty Norman, Nathan Myers, and Alden Slaughter were managers, and coaches were me, Brad Slaughter, Tracy Wilkins, and Coach Green, Derek Green.
Well, thank you very much for coming out. It's great to see this kind of support, and I'm glad these guys had a great year.
I think that's the first time you've had like a human cue card for something. That was just really good. So we appreciate that. But again, this was congratulations to this group. And Coach Lamb and Bryson are not unable to make it this evening. So maybe we can switch them to the February agenda. We were not aware of that. But.
And I tell you what we'll actually do. We'll take a brief 5-minute break so that they can get this taken care of, and then we'll wrap up here in a minute. That's okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and, now that they've cleared out a little bit, we can move on to the next item. The next item under number 3 is Mr. Norman. Mayor Norman has something here.
I think I'm on. I'm here to read a proclamation. It's School Board Appreciation Week. It used to be Appreciation Day, but the way y'all meet, we had to give you all week because we know you're going to be here all night. But we just wanted to show appreciation. Again, I know the work you put in and the hours you put in and the records you are setting for the time limit on the meetings, and so you're taking it away from the commission, so I appreciate that. Y'all keep setting those records for me. But I'd like to read this proclamation for you. Whereas an excellent public education system is vital to the quality of life in our communities, to the economic development of our state, whereas the school board members represent a tremendous resource as local decision makers, diligently working to meet the challenges of a dynamic world while ensuring that every child receives the services needed for a quality education. Whereas the school board members support and appreciate the efforts of students, educators, and administrators, which have led to Tennessee becoming the fastest improving state with academic performance as measured by the NAEP. And whereas the men and women of our local school boards are elected by the people to make decisions most appropriate for their communities and deserve recognition and thanks for their countless hours of service to public education in Tennessee. Now therefore I, Charles Norman, County Mayor of Maury County, Tennessee, do hereby proclaim January 22nd through 28, 2017 as School Board Appreciation Week in Maury County. Encourage all citizens to join me in this worthy observance. Thank you all so much.
Mayor Norman, I appreciate that. I know as a school board member, it's always a little awkward to get that recognition because we feel like we definitely don't do any of the heavy lifting that our employees do most of that. So, but thank you very much for the acknowledgement of that. Next item we do have here is item 4, staff reporting. Did we, unless there was anyone else there, Mr. Parlin, I think we've got him slated to come under this. If you want to go ahead and come up, Eric. Thank you for being with us tonight on this. I just wanted to go ahead. I know this has been coming up on most of our meetings, and it's definitely something at the front of people's minds on this. We want to get an update on where we are with the payroll. I know going back, and I want to go kind of backwards a little bit, but going back to the paychecks and the payroll status, where are we just in general with making sure that employees have been paid and we are on track with that? Would that be?
We are definitely on track. I believe we had a very successful payroll for the pay period ending week, or payroll date 1/13. We are ready to submit a payroll for January 31st, tomorrow before noon. So we feel like we've corrected most, if not all, the errors, and we've got everything running smooth.
Okay. All right. I know there's some other issues too with the some of the benefits on that. And if I could go through here, I guess one to go with, I think American, I may get some of these incorrect. American Fidelity was one of those. Where do we stand with that at this point?
Okay, with American Fidelity, though, that company handles all of our outside policies such as long-term disability, cancer, life, all of those policies that the different employees elect. Those funds have been remitted for all of those policies through December 31st. And those are monthly remissions, so we haven't gotten the January bill. So we are caught up through 12/31. Because we were so far behind on some of those, the funds are there. It's taking them a little bit of time to work through and getting all of that taken care of, but they do have all the monies for those.
Okay, so we've basically everything that they've asked us to put forward, we've sent on to them.
Yes, sir.
And we are waiting for them just, I guess, disperse those to the individual accounts.
Correct.
Okay. I think the 403B annuities, and there were some others listed under there. Where are we with those?
The 403B annuities are all managed by a third-party administrator called Mid-America. We remitted funds to them earlier this week, I believe on Monday or Tuesday. They've got those funds for, I believe it's October, November, December, and they are in the process of remitting that to the 11 or 12 different companies that house those annuities. So it takes them, from the time that we send it to them and they disperse those funds, it takes approximately a week to 10 days, they say, to
Okay.
get those funds in the accounts.
So that's similar to the American Fidelity.
Yes.
We've sent everything out that we need to send out. We're just waiting for them to, I guess, split it up.
And those are done
individual
by
accounts.
payroll, so the 113 payroll has also been remitted as well.
Okay.
So we're current through the 113 payroll.
Okay, with the expectation we're on track and those
Yep.
will just continue to be
Yeah, now we're on a
time.
normal schedule.
Okay.
Yes.
One other one, and again, some of this stuff is new to me, on the TCRS, where are we with that?
TCRS has proved to be quite a bit of a challenge for us. TCRS basically accepts one file from us per month. When we came in, we knew that November and December were backlogged. The issue with TCRS is we ran two payrolls out of two different systems in November, and to be able to remit the information to TCRS, we have had to try to combine those files. We've run into all kinds of issues with doing that because we've had all the information coming from two different systems. We've been working with TCRS diligently. They've spent many, many hours on the phone with us trying to figure out how to get that information to them. As of late this afternoon, we think we've figured out the last bit of errors that we need to correct, so we'll be ready to do that. It's a very slow and tedious process to do that. But once we get that file to them for November and it matches up with their system, then we'll be ready to remit those funds and then process December right after that.
So I guess, and that was a question I had on that. I guess, to my mind, it seems like we would kind of be able to just go ahead and start submitting other things. But from what I understand, until we get that one piece solved, we can't work ahead. We have to pretty much wait for the
Right.
November files to be able to
Right,
be
and it's not
submitted.
like some of the other ones where we can send them the money and then try to figure out where it goes to get everybody whole. This is one of those where it's a very specific procedure, and you've got to do November before you can do December.
Okay.
So,
So we think we've got a way to get this resolved. And again, you've been working with TCRS on this.
yes.
And we'll just keep working there. You feel like we're pretty close, or?
I think we're pretty close, but again, every time we've rounded a corner, we've run into another issue. And again, all of the issues have primarily pertained to running payrolls out of two different systems in November. That's kind of hit us at every turn.
Okay. I can go. Mr. Pennings, did you have some questions on that?
Is this going to make all the employees whole for the monies they've lost with the stock market going up?
What this is doing is getting all of their deductions into their accounts. We've talked with all the different providers of those retirement accounts, and some of them have quoted us 4 to 6 weeks for them to try to calculate those investment gains and losses on those monies. So that's going to be kind of the second phase to that, because that takes quite a bit more time, and we're going to have to rely on them quite a bit to do that.
I understand, but the stock market keeps going up. It keeps escalating how much money we're going to owe.
I'm not in a position to tell you how much money that we're talking about, but
Mr. Dudley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Parliament, we had asked the employees to use a Google instrument to voice any of their concerns and questions. Can you tell us where we stand as far as replying to the Google documents we have received, and have we answered most of them, or do we still have a large number of them to go?
we created a new Google Doc form for the 113 payroll, and in round numbers, I would say 80 to 90% of the issues that were reported on that Google Doc were retirement account related. So the issues with payrolls decreased dramatically, and we've dealt with those. We've not responded to folks one-on-one on all the retirement issues because we were still trying to figure out and work through that process.
Okay, have we at least we at least sending them an acknowledgement stating that we, we have your document showing your concerns, and we are working on it. I mean, the ones, I've had several to contact me saying that they've filled out this Google document, but they still haven't had any response, and they're just still left in limbo. I mean, I would think we could at least acknowledge that we have a letter of concern, and we're working on it, and we'll get back to them.
I believe the route that we chose to do on most of those retirement ones was communicate with the county as a whole, and I believe there was an email that went out on a week ago this past Saturday to all employees stating where we were at in this benefit issue as we were working through it. So we kind of chose to address that as a whole versus a one-on-one email to those folks.
Mr. Beaver?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I know this has been a nightmare, but what kind of steps is being put in place to make sure this don't happen again?
We, on the back end of getting all of this cleaned up, we are in the process of writing documentation of processes and procedures so that when we walk out the door and my folks walk out the door, we'll be able to train those new employees and be able to have guidelines for them to be able to process this. So a lot of it has just been identifying all the different things that need to happen and then documenting those processes. So we're in the process of doing that as well as we're getting on the other side of this.
Okay, so you feel, when will all of this will be completely taken care of? That everyone is retirement, everything is squared away?
That's a hard question to answer, again, because every turn we've gone around, we've run into another obstacle. But I do believe we're getting very, very close to that. So I can't give you a date at this point.
Okay, all right, thanks, sir.
Mr. Atkinson?
The W-2, has all that been straightened out, and we sent the W-2s out?
We haven't sent them out. We're planning to print them tomorrow. Our deadline is midnight Tuesday, so our goal is to print them, stuff them, either try to get some of them out tomorrow, if not by Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
And I believe we're probably going to hand deliver those in bundles to the schools is what we've talked about doing.
And it's going to be two different W-2s?
Two different W-2s, one from each system, because we did not transfer wages from the old system over to the new system.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Parker?
Mr. Parliament, we've got a full house tonight. What's the expectation that our teachers can have for payroll that comes out next week with regards to their wages, with regards to their deductions, and with regards to their retirement, just so they have an expectation of where we will be? Right.
I think most of the issues that were fixed in the 15th and 16th of December payrolls we got those fixed so that the 113 payroll is the correct payroll. What they should see on this next payroll is a duplication of that, unless there were additional changes that they notified us on or changes in deductions, things like that. So one of the biggest things that we've seen is I see a different number on my paycheck every pay period. That should start to alleviate now. What they saw on 113 should be the same thing as what they see on 131. So that's where we've gotten to on that point.
Ms. Kinzer?
I just want to follow up with Mr. Penning's when he asked about the interest. So eventually, hopefully soon, you'll be in contact with all of those annuities, and we will make sure that they have had no loss of any interest or anything that they might have accrued during this time.
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
And if I could say on that, I think from what I understand, the bulk of the time has been spent at this point just making sure we're able to get an accurate payroll out. And then secondary to that would be resolving these issues. I think that the third step, and I think since some of these numbers are still, we're waiting on getting them to disperse them to the individual accounts. That again takes precedence over doing the calculations, and several weeks is what it will take, from what most of them have told you.
Right.
For us to be able to really start looking at what those numbers would be.
And you've got to kind of gauge, the importance. Everything is important, but you've got to get people paid, and you've got to get their benefits and deductions correct, and then you've got to get W-2s out because that's a deadline that doesn't move. So you've got a lot of balls that we're juggling here, but, and we had to prioritize some of those things, but yes, that's correct.
Okay. Any other board members have any comments on that? Mr. Parlin, I appreciate it. I think
you.
that's it. Was there anything else we wanted under staff reporting?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, moving on to the item 5, the Maury County Education Association.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We do want to thank you, even when things don't always go as we plan. We want to thank you for your service. We appreciate our elected and appointed officials for all the work they do, and we're thankful that you give us this time each month. I want to talk to you about the stress and the angst that's been suffered and still being suffered by our teachers, principals, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, secretaries, support staff, full-time employees as regards the benefits being withheld but not being paid on time to insurance, retirement, and investment companies. This has been very stressful to Maury County employees, public school employees. People that have had to spend a lot of time, some like me that don't have a lot of accounting experience, filling out Google Docs, trying to justify, trying to put together the right information, and then to calculate actual losses they've had in this time since those last payments were made in October. Many are not receiving responses to the Google Docs form submissions. I know Mr. Parliament said there were priorities and who to respond to, but I think a personal response was well in order. I have still not heard about interest that would happen. I know you talked about the investment companies and 403Bs and so forth, but we're not hearing about anything of loss of interest for TCRS, and I would like to hear on how that's going to be calculated, that interest earnings. In spite of all this, our teachers still show a high attendance rate. They come to work every day to educate the children of Maury County. They work with the parents, and they do this all in a very safe and caring environment. So we look forward to these issues being resolved where we don't have to spend our time being accountants and questioning what we're getting. Thank you.
I'd like to read you a letter that one of many letters, calls too. Also, we've gotten calls. This is just from one of our teachers. Good evening, school board members and Director Marzak. When teaching writing to my students, I tell them to grab or hook their reader's attention. They should start with a quote, an interesting bit of information, or a little story. So that's what I'm going to do tonight for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to grab your attention so that you know how hard we teachers work to do more than just teach. Going to school early, staying late, constant parent communication via face-to-face, phone, email, personal website, and reminder app, grading papers, entering those grades into the online grade book, reviewing student writing to make notes on how improvements can be made, dealing with behavior, both negative and positive, duties a week at a time, sometimes 3 weeks in a row, before or after school bus duty, or after school car rider or bus duty, grade level PLC meetings, data team meetings, faculty meetings, IEP meetings, of which determine the course of a child's education and my legal responsibility on how to teach and how to accommodate and how to modify and how to assess them. Observations and meetings with school administrations about the observation before and after. After-school parent-teacher conferences, having extra students in my classroom during the school day because there are no substitutes, perhaps because they weren't paid. Fire drills and the occasional lockdown drill which scares the children to death. Filling out all kinds of paperwork for students who have moved away, new students, sending sick kids to the nurse, behavior documentation, filing guidance paperwork when I'm concerned something may be wrong and that a child needs to speak to a counselor consistently, taking attendance on the computer, on paper, and in the grade book, collecting lunch money, field trip money, fundraiser money, school fee money, making sure artwork is displayed in the hallway and in my classroom, attending PTA meetings, fall and spring school carnivals, music programs after school, tearing down and packing up everything in my classroom at the end of every school year so that floors can be waxed, just to set it all up again at the beginning of the next school year. And this is no small feat in elementary school. Attending trainings to get more hours to make sure my license is up to date. And oh yeah, we teach and worry about that little test at the end of the school year too. But this is my job, and I love it. I love Murray County. I was born in Columbia, just up the road in Murray Regional, and I've lived here all my life. I choose to teach here because it's home and where I wanted to make a difference and impact the lives of the children in this area, just like my teachers made an impact on me. To hear comments calling the payroll and benefits fiasco that has been happening all school year long in this county referred to as a snafu or a minor problem makes me question whether or not I'm valued. The state of Tennessee says I'm a level 5 teacher, but right now I feel like I'm a level 1 teacher here in Murray County. Thank you. Now this is not everybody, but this is what many of our teachers are feeling. And we're not going to not teach. We teach not because of the paycheck. We teach because that's a calling, just like any other ministry, just like any other thing that has to be done with your whole heart. But this, and I know that you're trying to address it, this is taking a big toll on the morale of the teachers in this county, and you would be surprised how many people are considering leaving this county to go somewhere else. If we can't get this fixed as quickly as possible, it is going to hurt us for years and years to come.
Good evening, school board members, Murray County administrators, and most importantly, my colleagues. My name is Stephanie Sparks Newland. I teach 6th grade project-based learning, self-contained class at Spring Hill Middle School. This is my 10th year as a Murray County teacher. I stand before you tonight like the young character in the old story, The Emperor's New Clothes. You know many, if not all, of your teachers have not been paid correctly for months or even the whole school year. Someone is parading naked in our district, yet we are to be patient and pretend nothing is wrong. We teachers are expected to keep a positive spirit and continue to inspire and celebrate the young people, our students, the driving force behind all we do. This plant, I love it, is here with me because not only was it a symbol of a new attitude in Murray County schools, but it is the perfect symbol for me. I am the teacher who buys into all the changes, the nurturing and the care required to grow myself, my students, and Murray County education into the future. These are exciting times, challenging times here in Murray County, but this but, it's an important but, we expect to get paid correctly. I wouldn't teach for free. I'm sorry to admit that. I'm a professional with 2 degrees, and I expect to get paid correctly. I personally have a VALIC 457 deferred, and I really haven't heard VALIC talked about, but right now I'm missing $1,043 as of yesterday. So I don't know about this January 13th correction. I'm missing $1,043 that I'm aware of. I haven't even had a chance to check other accounts. I know I'm not alone. Many teachers have shared their stories with me. We're communicating quickly. I personally suspect that every teacher in this county has errors in their pay or in their supplemental insurance premiums or their retirement accounts. The only reason I checked my account is because I heard of a teacher's spouse getting their extra health insurance plan canceled because the premium had not been paid. Our state retirement system, the TCRS, is now sending letters of warning to teachers about counts not being paid into. We teachers have networked quickly to try and understand what has been happening, and I give thanks for the MCEA, the TEA, and all my brothers and sisters in that union. We are supporting each other and getting information to and from each other, information that should have come from our central office. We have received varying emails from central office saying to check our paychecks via Skyward, that was confusing, and report problems via a Google document. I have not received anything back from several I've filled out. We were instructed not to call central office. Don't call us. Fill out the Google document. The problem is that our paychecks looked correct. How would we have ever known the money that we see coming out of our paycheck didn't get to where it was supposed to go? There were never explicit directions, there still have not been, directions on what we should be looking into, how to look into it, what kind of accounts are we talking about. Has my supplemental eye insurance premium been paid? I don't know. Have my extra payments to the federal government for taxes been paid? I don't know. What has happened to our money? Where has it gone? Where is it now? I'm not sure I believe Mr. Parliament when he says that it's all been sent. I don't know that that's true. I know they're working on it. I know VACO and Mr. Parliament are working hard on these problems, but we as teachers were smart. We want answers. Were there honest errors, or were there intentional mishandling of great amounts of money for much longer than what we're talking about? We're talking about even before the fall of this past year. Has something illegal happened? Patience is being forced on us. Our county's citizens should be outraged right now and asking what kind of new money is being spent to sort this all out. To you, my school board, I don't understand why you have tabled our memo of understanding. But this payroll fiasco proves to me why we need it. We teachers need all the support and protection that we can get. We need clear answers on what has happened, why it happened, where our money is, and when is it going to be delivered. And I'm not sure that what I just heard from Mr. Parliament answered that. Finally and lastly, since all this is about being paid for the services we give the children and community, I would like to take this opportunity to talk about our teacher salaries in Murray County. I have heard Governor Haslam say for the last 2 years that teachers in Tennessee are on the low end of the pay scale in the United States. He has encouraged 4% raises for the past 2 years. Money has been sent to our district, but we have not received the recommended suggested 4% raise for the last 2 years. You ask so much from us, your teachers. First, we deserve to be paid the amount you agreed upon. And secondly, we well deserve the 4% raise our governor is suggesting. I will keep caring. I will keep caring for this plant. I will keep being the best teacher I can be for my students. I want my students, my colleagues, my parents, definitely my administrators to be proud of me as a teacher. I will keep my eyes on the future. I expect solutions. I know they will come. And I want to be proud when I say I'm a Murray County teacher. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Huber, Mr. Orman, Ms. Newland Sparks. The next item we do have is a public delegations. Could someone bring me the list? If anyone has signed up. Okay, we do have a couple of names here. We also have some that are already on the public delegation. I'm going to go ahead and move. We'll just start with the ones that are listed on the agenda first. Ms. Newland Sparks, you're on here as well. Did you want to speak again?
No, I think I'm done.
Okay.
I let it all out right there.
All right. Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you. Let me go ahead and start with, looks like Dwight Green. And again, just to remind you on this, we do have this time to just speak to the board. You have up to 5 minutes and just state your name and address where you live in Murray County.
My name is Dwight Green. I live in Mount Pleasant, Tennessee. I have a few things to ask and say, and probably make some folks mad on the board and the director, but that's all right too. That's what we're here for. The Murray County Board of Education, under Director Marzak, has hired many administrators, and the leadership is very top-heavy in numbers and pay. The total amount paid to these administrators is $2,065,000, with an average pay of $86,06613. What percentage of these new administrators have replaced Murray County residents? What percentage of the newly created jobs have been filled with Murray County residents? Is there a belief on the director's behalf that quality educators cannot be promoted from within the school system? Our Murray County teachers, on the other hand, have an average pay of $47,477.95, lower than Marshall County, Dixon County, Lincoln County, McMinnville, Tullahoma, Paris, and 50 other districts with lower populations and less factories. More revenue is in this county from businesses, and Murray County ranks 50th. The base pay is $33,863, which is ranking 106 below counties half our size in population, revenue, and job growth. The worst issue is teachers received a $1,340 raise across the board, and their MOU asked for a 5% raise. The board should have at least negotiated the offering for an agreed upon percentage raise, as the $1,340 is not a decent amount to many veteran teachers and does not even add up to the cost of living in most cases. The situation of not paying substitutes, bus drivers, and teachers on time, and not paying their benefits to the providers is unprofessional and an embarrassment to our county as a citizen of this county, and dangerous for those people affected by it. Now, the outcome could have been a disastrous failure if someone had died and the benefits hadn't been paid. The question is, when will teachers become one of the first priorities of this administration and board? The classroom teacher, as this teacher said, that's your first line of defense. These are the first people these kids see. They mold their lives for the rest of their lives. And they're the first line of defense for a useful citizen coming from our county. General Motors, Nissan, Volkswagen, and their subsidiaries cannot hire a worker without a good education. No, they're not going to do it. Without an adequate education, a person is lost. And not very many administrators work daily with students. No job is more important in the school system than your teachers. No job, whatever the rate of pay. Now, I don't understand why come this board and the director cannot work towards open, honest, transparent dealings with the MCEA teachers, and most of all, pay them competitive wages to attract quality teachers to our district. We do not want our school system to become a revolving door of unfulfilled and poorly paid staff who steer others away from Maury County. We need you, our elected board members and directors, to be advocates of the classroom teachers, not their enemies. Now, if you want a good, cheap payroll, you'll have it, but you won't be able to get anybody. And that's just the way it is. Folks, we must clean this mess up. We need to. And these kids and these teachers, they deserve better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Green. And next I have Miss Karen, and I apologize, Olenka. Okay. Again, state your name and address.
My name is Karen Olenka, and I live at 1629 Williamson Drive, Columbia, Tennessee. And this is regarding teachers. From June 2016 to the present day, teachers have worked without a memorandum of agreement, essentially putting them at a disadvantage regarding their rights. They are at the mercy of the Director of Schools and the Board of Education regarding working past their assigned work times and all manner of issues affecting their rights. It is not lost on anyone that the Director of Schools and the Board is moving certain items from the memorandum of agreement to the policy manual, and this does not give the teachers an opportunity to negotiate said items. The fact that school bus drivers, substitute teachers, and teachers have had irregular pay issues is just an affront to their livelihood. The fact that teachers' pay was delayed has not happened in the past as reported, and blamed it on first farmers and merchants, and firing people still has not really solved the problem, because some teachers have been shorted on their checks as much as $100 a paycheck since October. But the atmosphere is so hostile. They are so afraid that some of them won't even speak up about the issues affecting their paychecks for fear of being fired for insubordination. To demote teachers and fire people with a phone call is not respectful and is unprofessional. And there is nowhere I've ever seen where a teacher would be fired without TEA representation. That is just against the rules completely. And that's not to mention disrespectful. When we come to this forum to voice concerns, we get canned feedback from the chairman of the board with no definitive discussion, acknowledgement, and our elected board members are silent as if the meeting before the meeting has already satiated your concerns. Board members, we want you to be an advocate for the taxpayers' children, and most especially the soldier on the front lines, the classroom teacher. Now teachers' retirement funds and life insurance have not been paid to the provider for months. But the list of consultants and pricey administrators from outside our county grows daily. Perhaps more than half of them can be let go to pay those doing the actual work of the schools. The money has come out of the teachers' paychecks for TEA dues. Has that money been given to TEA? We are requesting that the Board of Education be transparent regarding where the money is being spent and why it is not going to those doing the work, the public school teacher. Ultimately, responsibility for fiscal mismanagement of this magnitude rests solely with the Director of Schools, Dr. Marzak. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Olenka. I do have another person here wanting to speak about change of a bus route. Misty Smith King.
Hello, my name is Misty Smith King at 1733 Creekstone Drive, Columbia, Tennessee. I'm the parent of Briley Smith. She's a fourth grade student at Randolph Howe Elementary. My husband and myself, we've had some safety concerns with her bus stop. We have had multiple IEP or individual education plan meetings with Randolph-Howell to discuss and consider a change in her bus transportation route. Due to her disability, it's severe ADHD. We've spoke with a special educational teacher, Beth Thompson, Mr. Eric Perriman, the supervisor of transportation and school safety. Our request was for the safety. She currently walks 3/10 of a mile uphill, past multiple crossways, around a large blind curve, and we just asked if they could possibly just drive her on up to our address 1733. The hill circles around and goes back directly into their regular routine bus route on Riverside, Creekside. We were told from Mr. Perriman that she could ride the short bus, which is unnecessary in the No Left Behind and in the least restrictive environment. Federal Code of Federal Regulation. We also were told that they could not come up the road due to an occasional truck driver parked on the side of the street. And to our direct observation, usually there is a truck that drives there, that parks his truck on the side on the weekends, but there is always a fire truck can go around it. So there's no, and there should not be any trucks, you know, making it impossible for a bus to take a child home. After research, I discovered that as part of the IEP process, that the LEA and the IDEA, they are to help determine the transportation needs and services and how they're implemented. My EEP team at my child's school basically discouraged and humiliated me and my child, all for just asking for a little safer trip home. And like I said earlier, I had done some research in the Code of Federal Regulations book, and it said that the idea does not require LEAs to transport child in a short bus or separate vehicles, isolating them from peers. In fact, many with disabilities can and should receive same transportation with non-disabled, consistent to the least restrictive environment in the regulation. To be, if necessary, to be moved to a safe environment. And that's what I believe in, is safety first for our children.
Thank you, Ms. Smith-King.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item we do have here is the consent items. Is there anything anyone that wants to pull off of that? If you had a chance to review that list. Otherwise, we can accept motions to approve those. Thank you, Mr. Bates. We have a motion to approve the consent items. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Beaver. Any discussion on that? Okay, I don't see any discussion on that. Okay. And it does look like that passed unanimously. Okay, next we do have the committee reports, and we'll start with the zoning and facilities, which I guess I'll go ahead and take it where that would stand. We do have a couple of things that did come out of our committee on this. I believe Stan has all of those. If we want, we can take those one at a time, or we can move through all of those together. Stan, you want to get started with the train audit report first?
Yes, sir, that was discussed in the committee, so I don't know if there will be any questions. I will tell you that, I don't know if I can find the right one. We did get the, here it is. We did get the quote on the electrical part. We have not, I mean, the contract on the electrical portion that you voted to recommend. We've not got the plumbing, but it is within the budget that you set, so.
Okay.
So we would ask that you approve both of them like the committee recommended.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve that? We have a motion from Mr. Bates and come in that committee that does not require a second. Is there any discussion on that? Ms. Morency?
Are any of the schools that we are considering in Dr. Register's report, are any of those part of this?
Yes, ma'am, they are. This is a report to evaluate the plumbing specifically at 5 schools, and the
Right.
electrical at all of the schools is what you voted to do. And let me go back to that list real quickly here.
I have the list in front of me. I'm just wondering if we're going to spend the money to do the schools that, I mean, is this necessary for the safety and stuff of the children at the school, or do you understand what I'm asking you?
Yeah, I think this is a matter of determining the full extent of the repairs that need to be made to bring those buildings into full operating order. There is an amount that was, Dr. Register based his recommendations based on the EMG
Right.
audit. So
Mhm.
this would confirm those recommendations to say that some of those schools that he's recommended that be retired, actually those repairs would need to be done. But those schools are on here. Specifically, the electrical at all of those schools would be recommended. I think there's 2 of those that the plumbing is also being evaluated.
Okay, and you think that's necessary to do those, even if we are going to retire them?
No, ma'am, I think if the decision's been made to retire them, then it would not be necessary. We, I guess, thought that the board wished to have some additional information to help make that decision, and so this would further document those needs.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Morency, to answer your question, I believe from the discussions we had, I think the intention was to, we already had the EMG report with some numbers on that. I think what we were trying to do, and part of this was to kind of fast track, especially some of the facilities that may be in question, was to get more accurate numbers so that we can really weigh those. The EMG report was was based on some calculation tables. I think what we're trying to do here is actually get down to some real numbers so that we can make the decision. Okay, any more discussion? I do not see any. Am I doing something wrong? There it is. Okay, it does look like that passed unanimous. Oh, take that back. That passed as a vote of 10-1. Moving on to the next item, the contract with Rinch Engineering for roof repairs. Mr. Brady.
Don't have anything to add from the committee, presentation of the committee, other than you do have a copy of the contract. We did not have that when we presented to the committee. We had their report and the recommendation. We do have a contract for the specific work that the committee's recommending for these roofs. The good thing that I will tell you, when we talked to them originally, they gave us an estimate of between 5% and 6% for the architectural fees based on the amount of work, and I asked, could you do it for 5%, and they're doing it for 5%. So that's what the contracted amount is.
All right.
And the contract has been reviewed by Mr. Wooliver.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Okay, we have a motion for Mr. Bates on that. It does not require a second coming out of committee. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, I do not see any discussion. Okay, and that does pass with a vote of 10-1. Moving on to the next item, we have the contract proposal for structural engineering report from Ross Bryan Associates.
We do not have anything to add since the committee presentation, so.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Bates on that. It does not need a second. Any discussion on that motion? I do not see any discussion. Mr. Bates. Okay, and that did pass with a vote of 10-1. The next item, a rebid of grass mowing. I believe that there's no changes to that from what came out of committee. Do we have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Atkinson. That does not require a second. Any discussion? I do not see any discussion. And that did pass unanimously. Okay, the next item we do have is additional architect's fees to Earl Swenson Associates for design of the new elementary school on Malin Moore Road.
Mr. Chairman, I might add that the night when we made that, we had got an estimate. Of course, as you know, architect's fees ultimately are a percentage of construction costs, so at this point, it's just an estimation. And what they had estimated was based on some preliminary numbers from early programming meetings where they were what we felt like was overestimating the size of the school, which was ultimately leading to an overestimation of cost. They've gone back and refigured those, and we provided in your packet. We just had not got this in this week and had an opportunity to add it to your packet. But they refigured that. They're showing a projected cost now from what originally was $22,400,000 down to a construction cost of $18,364,000, which would drop the schematic phase design total cost, including estimated reimbursables, to $248,876. 50 of that you've already funded, so that would leave $198,876. So we would recommend, instead of the originally what we'd ask you for is to approve up to an additional $218,800, is just to make it an even, approve up to $200,000 is needed to complete the schematic design. Of course, at that point, schematic design will be presented to the board, which is, schematic design is basically a floor plan of what the school will look like.
Okay. And we do have the funding that would come out.
Yes, that funding, that would come out of the money that's already been allocated through the bond issue. So that's where those funds would come from.
Okay. Since we're making a change to this, I'm assuming we probably need a second on this one since it is coming, coming change. So if someone would like to make a motion to approve this with the new figure of the $200,000 even, not to exceed that. Okay, we have a motion on that, Mr. Dudley, and we have a second by Mr. Atkinson. Do we have any discussion on that motion?
One question.
Oh, Ms. Parker.
How did we decide on the size of the school as far as the enrollment? I see that we're looking at 700, and we just agreed to do the addition at Marvin Wright to get it closer to 800 capacity.
We took that off of Dr. Register's recommendations based on the numbers he projected. When he included the addition to Marvin Wright, he projected this school to be 700.
Would it cost a lot more if we were to push it to 800? I mean, I'm just thinking it's easier to build it for what we think we can hold as opposed to just building an addition a few years later.
I think they've used an estimated cost of per square foot for construction of $180, completed with FF&E and design costs of a little over $200 a square foot. So, you know, the students per square feet, I don't remember that. I think it's 140. So you would be talking about for another 100 students would be about 140 times 100. What is that? 14,000 times. I'm doing this math in my head. Times about $200 a square foot. So you're talking about another $2 to $3 million. Roughly $3 million in cost, so, you know, it'd be whatever the pleasure of the board was.
Okay, thanks.
I guess, let me ask Ms. Parker's question in another direction. I know we're still kind of working through some of the programming of this. If the board were to decide at some point in the next, as we wrap up the final programming and we do decide that it were to be larger, it would really just mean we would end up, we could come back and add to this if we needed to, if there was additional funding, because this would end up being kind of on the back end anyway, wouldn't it?
It would, you know, it would help if we had a firm figure during the schematic design, because schematic will then lead to buildable plans. But once you get the schematic design the way I understand it, it could be adjusted if we decided this is a school for 700. We'd like for it to be 800. It'd basically be in expanding the core, some of the core part of the facilities, things like cafeteria size, you know, gymnasium size, those kind of things, and then adding some additional classrooms. So we could make that, but if it is, you know, if the board wants us to go in with 800 right off the bat, it probably would make it a little faster and maybe cut a little bit of cost and design fees if we knew that up front.
Okay. Well, we do have a motion that's been seconded. Any more discussion on that? I do not see any more discussion. And Shirley, just to clarify, we did adjust that number from the 218 to around $200,000, an even 200,000. So that would be what we were voting on. Okay, and that did pass with a vote of, looks like 9-2. All right, and that does wrap up everything from the zoning facilities. Thank you, Mr. Braden. Next, we had policy. Ms. Parker, did you have anything on that other than just what's being posted? These are just being posted publicly. Okay, does anyone have any, I guess, we need a motion on this for all of the policy items that are listed, or any discussion, or these would be, again, just to post these publicly? Okay, Ms. Martin does make a motion on that, and coming out of committee, that does not require a second. Any discussion on that motion? And this is a motion to post all of the listed policies. Okay, and that did pass unanimously. Ms. Parker, did you have anything else? All right, thank you. Okay, next item, we do have community relations. Ms. Powers, did you have anything on that?
We just heard from the director of the Family Resource Center, and I think it increased all of our awareness of the program in our community that serves a lot of families.
I would agree. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that to us. Okay, moving on to the next item is new business, which I'm not seeing anything listed there. Okay. Next item is other business. The first one, instructional purchases over $10,000. Looks like a Mayan subscription is first.
Evening, folks. Mr. Gaines is still at his meeting, and Miss Miller is meeting her new niece that was born on Monday. So put me in, Coach. Let's go. I believe the first one is the Mayan subscriptions.
Yes.
What we did is that we had to go ahead and purchase those. They do them differently with the primary schools and the secondary. The secondary are done by publisher. So this was done before my time, but I believe this was all done by getting feedback from our English teachers across the high schools and our unit schools, and these were the publishers that they decided. So we get the classics for free, and then we chose these publishers based on feedback from our English teachers. And so it is broken out by year. The first year is quite a bit bigger because the professional development is lumped in. If we pay for it this way, we save quite a bit, as if we do it a la carte, they charge us $2,000 a day. So that's why we're presenting it that way.
And this also gives us what we're starting to find out in the elementary and middle school is some of our more advanced students are starting to top out with Mayan. They can't find books in their Lexile levels. And so this gives the ability for some of our elementary and middle school kids to have advanced readers so they can continue to push their Lexile levels and still get their required reading time in Mayan.
Okay. Ms. Parker?
Are we just being obligated for this 13,000 thereabouts, or is this part of a larger total that we're obligating ourselves?
It is, I believe, a 5 or 6 year contract. You'll have to help me on this one, Chris. Is it 5 year? And it will be recurring every year.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we do have a motion from Mr. Pennings to approve this as presented. Do we have a second? A second from Ms. Powers. Any more discussion on this? Okay, and that did pass 10-1. The next item is bid number 17-511, Discovery Education textbooks.
Yes, sir. This is just the next piece in our ongoing partnership with Discovery Education. We're hoping to start a pilot of this. What we'll do right now is start with our unit schools and then Mount Pleasant Middle School with the science tech books. We kind of see this, the way it's designed is it's designed to help move those students from, it's designed for each student to have one with a small group, which matches up with our TIM matrix and the diploma plan. So we will pilot those there with the hope of, as we get going, to move it up into the high schools with math, science, and social studies tech books.
Do we have any questions or a motion on that? Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Dudley. Do we have a second? And a second by Mr. Pennings. Mr. Bates?
I guess I have a question from a budgeting standpoint. I guess, is this coming out of an existing budget? We're not adding to a budget?
No, sir. From what I understand, it's coming out of the textbook line item.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion on that? Okay, I don't see any more discussion. Okay, and that does pass with a vote of 10-1. Thank you very much. Next item, we've got some operations on under item 10 here, B. We've got some RFPs, it looks like. First one being a private cloud.
Yes, sir. This was an RFP for a private, a trust compute cloud. We get too deep into this, Tommy's going to come and talk about it, you know. But this actually was given out. We actually sent out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bid packages, but we only received one bid. It came from the Educational Networks of America, ENA, who is our current internet service provider. So we do. The recommendation is that we would purchase this trust compute cloud from them. It's an annual purchase of $14,400, a one-time setup and activation fee of $500. These funds for this are available in our technology budget, $141,728,10,399.
Okay. Tommy, I did have one question on this. And looking at the bids that came back, I guess that was for a different package. Did we just choose a different size package based on what, or am I reading something wrong, where they came back with the 28,000 on the RFP?
We chose a different package.
Okay.
That's what it was. And there's that, for full disclosure, when they do the bid, they showed us other options just in case we chose to go that route.
Okay, so that's the difference is just we chose a different option. Okay. Do we have a motion to approve that? Okay, Ms. Kinzer has made a motion to approve that. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Pennings. Any discussion on that motion? Do not see any discussion. Okay, and that did pass unanimously. The next item we do have here is bid 17, let's see, -030 on buses.
You have already approved the purchase of the buses. These are buses that were funded in the capital funds budget of the county. As we were getting ready to order, because they told us the money was available to now order those buses. We realized when we brought you the recommendation to approve those, we left off the normal accessories we buy with the bus purchase. It was just an error on our part in the presentation we made to you, that we didn't include the two-way radio, additional camera head, and air disc brakes, which adds to the 4 buses that we're ordering a total cost of $10,100. This still puts them within the budget that was set by the county commission. We just need your approval to, so we can go ahead and add those on and order those buses.
Okay. Do we have a motion for that? Motion by Mr. Atkinson. And a second by Mr. Pennings. Any discussion on that motion? Mr. Bates.
And so this funding would actually come out of the separate funding that the county sets aside that's not really inside of our
It is not
budget?
inside our budget. That is correct. We normally get the approval from you for the purchase, but it is actually using county capital funds.
Okay, so the funding is there, though? It's
Yes,
just a matter
yes,
of
it is
using
there.
it for this purpose.
This is within the amount they allocated in the line to us this year.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brady.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? I do not see any. I guess, there it is. Okay, and that did pass unanimously. Moving on to the next item, we have some finance budget amendments. I believe we're actually going to get Stan to take these as well.
That is correct. Mr. Parliament asked me if I'd speak to these because these both come from the operations area, and as you know, he is a contractor paid by the hour, so we save some money by sending him home. So that's what we're doing. The first one of these is Budget Amendment 4504, and it is for $19,177.04, which are in insurance recovery funds. That is insurance recovery that we did for a bus that was injured in an accident. It was an accident that only the driver was on the bus, no students were on there, and the driver wasn't injured, just the bus. But yeah, we need to take them from the insurance recovery fund and move them over into the transportation account where the repairs are made from. So that's the first one. The second one is Budget Amendment 4505, and it is the Energy Efficient Schools Initiative funds that we received from Train for the a refund they got for the Energy Schools and Efficient Schools Initiative of $907.28, and this would move it from the income account it was put in over into building improvements.
Okay. We do have a motion by Mr. Bates to approve both amendments and a second by Mr. Atkinson. Any discussion on either of those motions? Or on the single motion, I guess? Okay, I do not see any discussion on those. And that did pass unanimously. Okay, next we do have some FYI items. I'm normally not good at this part, David, so personnel report, anything else there? Announcements, communications on would be the last part there. Dr. Marzak, did you have anything to add on that part?
Yes, I did. First off, I'd like to say thank you tonight for the Spring Hill High School FCCLA, the Nutrition Diet Therapy class, for providing our food for tonight for the school board appreciation at 5 o'clock. Is anybody left from there, or have they all headed out? Too many. Yeah, I don't know how the Oreo cake pops can be classified from a nutrition diet therapy class, but they were really good. So yeah, definitely the students, they told me they worked all day on that food. So that was really nice of them to bring that to us. Also would like to remind everybody, we're almost at the end of School Board Appreciation Week, so just would like to thank my appreciation for what you guys do day in, day out. You get paid little money, yet you devote a lot of your time to the school system. And I know the employees greatly appreciate it. I appreciate it. Central office supervisors, we appreciate everything that you do. So thank you very much on behalf of the school system as a superintendent. So with the scheduled meetings and closings, coming up February 6th, we have a policy community relations meeting here at 6 o'clock. On Tuesday, February 7th, our parent-teacher conferences at the elementary and unit schools from 4 to 7. On February 9th, we have a county admin meeting at 4:30. On February 9th, we also have a zoning and facilities meeting here at 6. Monday, the 13th, is parent-teacher conference for high schools, 4 to 7. The 14th is the county budget meeting at 4:30 p.m. February 16th is parent-teacher conferences for the middle school from 4 to 7 p.m. Monday, February 20th is President's Day. There's no school for students or teachers. Tuesday, February 21st is a county commission meeting at 6:30. And Thursday, February 23rd is a regular board meeting back here at HOP at 6 o'clock.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Mr. Bates, it looks like you're wanting to add something to that.
No, I was just a quick item. I know that our good friends at Spring Hill High School lost one of their students, and so I would ask us to all keep that family and also our larger family at the Spring Hill High School in our thoughts and prayers during this time. So.
Yes, sir. All right. Any other board members have anything they want to add? Ms. Martin?
I just want to say I didn't get a chance to acknowledge a couple meetings ago, because this is actually our first regular board meeting since we had the attorney privilege and kind of just dismissed a little bit after that. But wanted to honor Miss Mildred Porter, who is the wife of H.O. Porter. She recently passed away. And we are, of course, in the building at which he was principal for several years. And she herself retired from Mary County Public Schools, I think after about 37 years, and her tenure was here at H.O. Porter. And their family is still truly devoted to Mary County Public Schools, and has a very nice scholarship fund that helps with a lot of Mary County Public Schools students to go on to college. So I just wanted to honor my neighbor and one of our very own, and definitely the wife of who this building and this school is named after. So.
Ms. Kinzer?
I'm not sure, and Mr. White, you might, but I believe that Shaq Mason was someone that applied for and possibly got that scholarship. And I know you're all going to be cheering him on at the Super Bowl. We're really proud of him.
He did receive.
Yes, because I wrote the recommendation.
Ms. Parker?
I just wanted to say that I was texting with Mr. Lamb and giving him a hard time for not being here tonight for his presentation, but he said he didn't get any notice about it, but he looks forward to being here next month. So he just told me to apologize to y'all for not being here.
All right, thank you. Any other board members? Ms. Powers?
I think most of our teachers have gone, but numerous administrators are still here. And I just would like to if you could take it back to the teachers, that I appreciate that they took their time to come tonight. It has been a mess, but, you know, we are trying to work it out. But I really appreciate that they gave their time to come. I think we have very devoted and invested teachers, and I very much appreciate them. So please let them know that I do appreciate their time in coming tonight.
Okay. If no one else, we can take motions to adjourn. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Pennings and a second by Mr. Atkinson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.